fellow neighbors that make up North Meadow Village. We all know we are living in very weird and difficult times. Well, unless you were playing a board game and you got sucked into a jungle, and you were released 26 years later. But that rarely ever happens. Amidst this pandemic, we have all had to quarantine, wear masks, and socially distance. We have all had to adapt to a new way of living. This past summer, I was playing soccer with my brother in the street. My brother, with his great aim, sent the ball flying into the backyard. I had to run after it to get it. We know we live in a trailer park, so we don't have any fences. Our backyard is the maintenance guy's front yard. When I was running after the ball, I felt something squishy under my shoe. We recently had neighbors move into the house next door who have a dog that looks more like a big rat. I realized I had just stepped in dog poop. I wiped my shoe off in the grass and kept playing soccer with my brother. When we came back in, after the mosquitoes had the biggest feast of their lives, I found myself thinking about my stinky new neighbors. It was so curious that one small problem had me thinking about a global scale issue that affects every single one of us. We have become so anxious about ourselves during these times of uncertainty that we forget about others. That is why I have called you here today, so that together we may stomp on the causes, wipe off the effects, and clean up with some solutions to this issue. The sticky truth is, it isn't just my neighbors who are the only ones thinking about themselves. We can see people running around without masks at the grocery store because they're uncomfortable, getting into fistfights over Clorox wipes, and crying because they just want to eat inside Chuck E. Cheese. I believe this selfishness is happening for two main reasons. The leading cause is fear. Fear that we won't be able to take care of ourselves or fend for ourselves. In an article written by CNN on March 9, 2020, Stephen Taylor, a clinical psychologist, says, "The novel coronavirus scares people because it's new, and there's a lot about it that's still unknown. When people hear conflicting messages about the dangers it poses and how seriously they should prepare for them, they tend to resort to the extreme." In an article written by the Huffington Post on May 21, 2020, Kimberly Johnson, an assistant professor of clinical health counseling in New York, says, "The early optimism and community support begins to erode as the mind and body struggle to keep up with the persistent stress and sense of being out of control. We can see that anxiety can be a segue into fear, and that fear often causes us to act irrationally and in ways we otherwise might not have acted." The second cause is confusion over whether putting yourself first is selfish or smart. India Times wrote an article on June 19, 2020. It points out that we are stressed, resources are scarce, and that on some level, people are acting selfish just to survive. If one of our neighbors were to run out of animal crackers and they went to the store to buy some more, but the person next to them got the last bag, our neighbor would probably view them as selfish. All of a sudden we go into a Gollum mode, where we want what we want, and if we get it, we don't want anybody else to come near us. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days I go to Walmart and somebody says, "My precious," when they find a box of tissue paper. The first effect I have found is that if we are not identifying with the people around us, we are less likely to be careful. This causes us to act in self-preservation rather than community preservation. An article written by Brainsway.com says, "A cultural heritage of personal freedom and individualism has seemingly contributed to stockpiling necessities, leading to shortages in basic food and hygiene items. Individualism can be seen not only in the instance of the COVID-19 pandemic, but it can also be seen in life. Whether we look like the Pillsbury Doughboy, or you're as slender as Jack Skellington, or you're black, white, or even green, we will always be judged by someone. I will tell you something that in my long life I have found to be a constant. Well, besides change, take that, Heraclitus. Not everyone likes you. You may not be fully accepted into a group, and that's okay. The only person who needs to accept you is you. But you have a duty to be considerate of all people, not just yourself." The second effect is called the fear contagion effect. Previously cited, Stephen Taylor continues by saying, "And when you see someone in the store panic buying, that can cause a fear contagion effect. Essentially, we as humans are social creatures and we look to each other for what is safe and what is dangerous. When we see somebody acting out in fear, that causes others to do the same. I remember when I went to Target and I saw mothers buying boxes and boxes of diapers, building the Eiffel Tower of diapers. I kind of panicked. I told my mom we had to buy some diapers for my little sister, but she said we also had to leave some for the other people. I didn't understand why my mom was only buying a single box of diapers. when all around me I felt like people were playing Tetris, trying to see where else they could fit another roll of toilet paper or another box of Pampers. Now I see. My mom was being courteous. The first solution to these problems is empathy. Not sympathy, empathy. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, empathy is the act of being aware, being sensitive to, and understanding the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of another. In the previous example, we can see someone who is empathetic says, "It's too bad these people won't have diapers to give to their kids," and then they leave some for the other people. Whereas someone who is sympathetic says, "It's too bad these people won't have diapers to give to their kids," and then they take 7 boxes. And they don't even have kids! We need to learn to view the world through the lenses of others. We have to put our empathy glasses on and start caring about the people around us. We have to care about ourselves, but we also have to care about the world. The second solution is to act in accordance with government guidelines. On October 5th, 2020, during a town hall meeting, President-elect Joe Biden said, "I view wearing this mask not so much protecting me, but as a patriotic responsibility. All the tough guys say, 'I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not afraid.' Well, be afraid. For your husband, your wife, your daughter, your son, your neighbor, or your coworker. That's who you're protecting having this mask on, and it should be viewed as a patriotic duty to protect those around you." And while this isn't a speech about politics, I know we all want to promote the safety and well-being within our communities. Wearing a mask is not a question about whether you think it's stylish or not, or whether you think it's uncomfortable. Wearing a mask is a question about protecting lives. So do your part and save somebody else's life. So today we've seen what is causing us to act in self-preservation rather than community preservation. We've also seen some solutions, empathy, and acting in accordance with government guidelines. Thank you, North Meadow Village, for having me today. I know there is a lot of work to be done. You guys have to follow up on the situation of the people putting out the trash on the wrong days, as well as the possum infestation, and obviously talking to my new neighbors about their crappy problem. There's a lot of work to be done, but if we work together, it will be a beautiful day in the neighborhood.